So welcome to If They'd Had Wings, our post-show conversation for Flyin West. My name is Daniel Siba. I'm the Director of Education. We are so grateful that so many of you stayed to have this conversation. I'm going to introduce our guest speakers, and then they'll chat for a little bit, and then we'll have some time to open it up for question and answer, okay? So first, I'd like to introduce Dr. Kimmika Williams-Witherspoon. Dr. Williams-Witherspoon is an associate professor of urban theater and community engagement at Temple University. She was the recipient of the 2013 Associate Provost for the Arts Grant, a 2008 Research and Creative Seed Grant co-recipient, a 2003 Provost Arts Commission Grant, a 2001 Independent Foundation Theater Communications Group Grant, and the 2000 winner of the Pew Charitable Trust Fellowship in Scriptwriting. Dr. Williams-Witherspoon was able to talk with our actors about the history, wrote the program note, and we're so grateful to have her join us today. Right. Our other speaker is Zuhairah Z. McGill. She originally hails from Brooklyn, New York. She is the producing artistic director of First World Theater Ensemble and an upcoming film director. You can look at the program for all of her credits, but I also do want to mention that Z was instrumental in the creation of the Sojourner project last year, and so we're so grateful to have them. So let's thank both of them.
Good afternoon, first of all. And can we just give another round? So as I was telling Daniel, this is one of my favorite plays, and I always end my classics in African American theater class with it, and the race and representation class. Pearl Cleage was able to put so much into this play so that we get a chance to unpack colorism and intra-racism. We get a chance to talk about miscegenation. We get a chance to talk about spousal abuse and how it had a fraught history in this country. We get to talk about the importance of land ownership and the right that women should have to be safe in whatever environment that they're in. And we get a chance to really unpack the importance of ritual in African American culture. And of course, to talk about the legacy of Jim Crow and how it has perpetuated all the way through not just the Civil War and afterwards post-Reconstruction, but that we're still living in, some would say, a second wave Jim Crow era even today. That's just a little bit of the topics, the themes that are chocked full in this production. And I think Z, as director and the consummate actor, did such a wonderful job in highlighting all of those and even more. But I just wanted to kind of start the conversation there. That this is a piece that resonates with so many different people based on what their reality is. So, you read the program notes, or if you haven't had an opportunity to read them, perhaps you'll get a chance to look at it later. This play hinges on the Homestead Act, which was started in 1860, actually passed in 1862. The Homestead Act was important because after the secession of the South, it took away the, any conversation about extending slavery into the Western frontier. And so finally, they could pass this act that allowed for land distribution to regular folk. Granted, we know the land wasn't really free, that other people resided on the land. But that's another story. But what a lot of people didn't realize is that there was a little bit of language embedded into the Homestead Act, that if you ever took up arms against the United States, you were not eligible for the free land. And that becomes the crux of where the speculators and all of those individuals that would try to usurp the opportunities that some freed African Americans tried to have in the frontier. Nicodemus was only one of a whole host of all black townships, but it's the only one that survived, and now it is a National Historic Landmark site. So I just wanted to start there. Z, what you want me to talk about?
I could sit and just listen to you all day, so it don't bother me. To piggyback off of Kimmika, if you look into the program, I touched on a little basis of what Pearl was also discussing in this play, about land ownership and justice and hope. What does hope bring to all of us as a people? And hope could be a dangerous thing. It depends on what side of the fence you are on. Hope could be something that can uplift you and just put more of the spirit of fight in you, and it makes the opposite side more fightful and have fear because of this hope that people have. And with Pearl Cleage, most of her work, she always discussed things about justice and hope and moving forward. Most of her work is like that. I did a piece called Bourbon at the Border, and that was the first time when I had met Pearl. She came to see the show, which was dealing with the storyline of a couple in the 1960s. And what happened was the woman was molested, raped by these racist white men so badly where she couldn't have children anymore. So her husband decided that he wants to take justice into his hands. And throughout the play, these white men are being murdered, and come to find out it's him who's getting justice back to murder these white men for taking the life from her womb of what they could have deserved. So Pearl has always written things like that. Pearl was a friend of mine. That's when I met her. When we did the preview, she and I talked that night. And her focus with all of her work is groundness and truth, and allowing it to come from the roots of our history, the roots of what we are spiritually, the roots of what we are psychologically, and that's what she mainly focused on. And as Kimmika was saying, it was just wonderful that she wrote this piece. I always wanted to do Flyin West. I did Blues from Alabama Sky, Bourbon at the Border. I've done several of her plays, but Flyin West was the one that was like the cream of the crop. Like, I don't care if I don't do no more Pearl Cleage plays. I'm happy the fact that I did, so I was honored to direct it and be in it. Now, there's this story, people thinking that I wanted to do both, so we're gonna clear the air right now. Let's clear it right now, coming out of the horse's mouth. I was already cast to play Miss Leah. I was cast to play Miss Leah. But what happened was, this is how God and the universe work. The director that they wanted, they couldn't get her because of her schedule. And then I got a call and asked that I want the challenge to direct it, and I said, heck yeah, I want the challenge to direct it. And I'm so honored. It's a very good cast. So, I don't know, do they have any questions, Dan?
Yeah, do we have questions about, yeah, go ahead.
Don't really have a question.
Okay.
I have a statement.
Okay.
I've had the distinct pleasure of being both educated by and working with both of these women. And this is the second time I've seen them. And I just want to say it in public. It's so it's like so bloody good. I mean, there's a lot to say and all that, but it's so good. It's so freaking good. That's all.
World-renowned director. Yes. And he's absolutely right. It is so freaking good.
It's so good.
There you go. There you go.
It's so good.
Crazy.
So you have no questions, because I could talk to you. Trust me.
Yeah, over there.
Any questions?
So I want to say I was inspired because, looking at the gentleman by way of London, then in New Orleans, like you kind of felt like, where's the redeeming quality for the men in the play, right? So then when the gentleman comes in with the flowers, helping you down the steps and being such a gentleman. It just gave a balance of redeeming qualities because there are good gentlemen out there. And then the thing about with the balance of the women, it was such a great scope of women that wanted to hang in there with their man, but also women that said, listen, girl, put your head up and walk away. So I like the balance in play. I really respect that. And thank you.
That was due to her writing, Cleage
Yes,
writing.
yes, it was a balance. And I thank you for that. I really enjoyed it. Like you said, it's so freaking good.
Well, we also wanted to talk a little bit about Frank and this whole notion of the wretched free man. We look at him today with, the 2000 or 2022 eyes, right? So there are lenses a little bit clouded by who we are today. But at that time, being so fair-skinned and looking like not just your father, but your brothers who own you, imagine what that must have been like for that character. And there's a line in the play that for mulattoes, there's a battle going on. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of the scholar right now, okay, and I lost my mind. It's not Du Bois, but shucks, it'll come to me. But he talks about the wretched freeman. This idea that those individuals who were so close to whiteness that they felt as if they were owed something. And that's what I think Frank Charles is sort of dealing with. So that he does have some redeeming qualities. It's just that when money is taken out of the equation, then the weight of having to live in a world that doesn't see all of him is what he has to deal with. So I kind of want to throw that out there. Because now we live in a world where we're very clear about biracial identity and multiracial identity. In that world, we know that the Thomas Jefferson's one drop rule ruled.
Yeah.
So that one drop, it condemned you to a particular perception.
Yes.
And so I think both Frank as well as our other character that Phil plays. Phil's a tremendous actor too, by the way. Let me just we see the difficulties of masculinity and manhood, and Pearl Cleage is able to bring that to light, as well as all of the versatility and diversity of Black women.
Yes.
I do have the directorial question, and that's it.
Great.
Okay. See. So I love cowboy movies, always. And so there's this gorgeous moment where, sis, what is your character's name?
Me?
Sophie. Sophie is her name.
Yes.
So you know when Sophie meets the guy that he was talking
Frank.
about, Frank, and they're talking, and before she says hello, she has the coat on, and whoever did the costume, wow.
Ali, she's in New York.
And she shows him the hammer, which is like old school cowboy movie all day, right? So she shows him the hammer before she says hello. Was that an actor choice or a directorial choice?
Actually, that's in the script. Pearl has that in the script. And she reveals the gun. So I give that kudos to Pearl Cleage.
Okay.
And I followed that directorial part. I've seen the show before. Some people, they take creative rights and sometimes they don't follow certain things, which we can do as directors.
Yeah.
But I thought that was very important to stick to the script because Pearl put that in the script. And
So Pearl said it.
yeah, Pearl said it. So it was done.
It was very John Wayne as well. All right, done.
It was very frontier, right?
Yes.
I just wanted to say, I think everybody was ready to get rid of Frank.
Oh, yeah.
And come to find out, Frank is my son-in-law.
Oh.
And he really, you really put on him. And the whole cast was good. But I'm telling you, Frank was really something. You surprised, you really surprised me. And my daughter here, boy, we was almost, it was just wonderful. Thank you.
Well, I do, just as a naive person, I don't go to a lot of theater, and for Frank, what's it like to be, like, night after night, you have to be so wicked? Like, what does that do to you?
One of the rehearsals, I almost cried to have to say what I say in the bedroom, because you remember that. It was
Yeah, I
like, it
remember.
really took me down. But I was like, all right, I gotta act, so let's just keep doing it. Once you keep doing it, keep saying it over, it kind of loses its steam, but it did hurt the first time.
Wow.
Yeah, it did. He was really sad and he got down, and I would have to give him a pep talk and say, no, you just acting. Do it. So I know it hurts, but you got to do it. You know, I'm good at giving harsh pep talks. Come on, let's do this. You're a good actor. So yeah, it did bother him a couple of times. That's because you're a kind human being. That's why. So yeah. I want to say to the lady here in the blue shirt, you were so loving and caring and kind while the show was on. I kept hearing all of your comments, and as I was going off stage, she says to me, "Thank you." The sweetest thing. So we thank you for your work.
So deeply, the whole performance, the kind of calibrated way that the staging brought you so deep into these layered characters, how you step up on that stage, just broke my heart each and every time. So you embodied what you were conveying, all of you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, you don't have your glasses on?
It's in right here, but you know, with the light.
Yes. Could you speak a little bit about what the traditional homestead was like in Nicodemus?
So, the average home would cost anywhere between $75 to build, which was a lot of money at that time. They are wheat farmers. Wheat, on an average, brought, once you took it to market, $1.02 for a bushel, and a bushel is 60 pounds of wheat. So that you can figure just how much labor it takes to get 60 pounds in a bushel, and then several bushels in order to make enough money to make that harvest worth it. But the money that you made, would have to help carry the family over for the full year until the next harvest. A horse was, the average price of a horse was $150. So to own a horse meant that you had some money. Most people who came to Nicodemus had to either take the train to a certain point and then walk, or had to, caravan with whatever they had. Horses were, as I said, very expensive, so most often it was oxen and mules, and with the youngins riding and the older people walking. These homesteads were, rugged. They weren't the richest places that you might want to look at. Now remember, this is 1898, so they're 2 years shy of the turn of the century. But the frontier is still very rugged. In the cities, 1898, things are happening, things are popping. But in Kansas and Oklahoma and Oregon, not so much. And so a lot of people had to, for those first few years, you lived off the land, you planted as many vegetables as you could, you made do. But they had a whole history of learning how to do that through the enslavement process. I mean, we could take the worst part of any animal and make it taste really good. Possum and sweet potatoes was the thing, but I wouldn't eat it, but cool beans. So I mean, when I say that, the set designer did a tremendous job with it's so that you get the idea of prairie, you get the notion of working hard to make something beautiful and wonderful, but to have fine china in the frontier was a rarity. And so that you want to keep that in mind when you think about the average homestead. It was hard work. You're working sun up to sundown. And you know, as Sophie talks about, from mending fences to, you know, to not only working in the field, but sometimes it's shoeing the horses. It's a whole lot of work. And most folks didn't live long, but which is why they're working so hard to try to keep Miss Leah with them, and aggravating her is the best way to do that. But it was a good life because it was yours after being enslaved, after being owned by someone else. That even though it's bare minimum and cold in the winter and winter comes early and snow up to your windowsill, it's your home, it's your house, it's your homestead. And for Sophie and Fan and Min, it's a place to be safe and to be together.
Wow.
Just want to let you all know before we go, Nicodemus, Kansas has a population of 20 people, and those 20 people, I share, those 20 people are people who actually work in Nicodemus, Kansas. It's like Kimmika was saying, it's a landmark. You can go and visit it to Nicodemus, Kansas. So in July, while I have some time off before I start my next adventure, I'm going to Nicodemus, Kansas. I'll send you pictures. I'm going to go visit Nicodemus, Kansas. I want to see where people like Sophie and Minnie and Fan and all those wonderful people live. Even though these characters in the play were not real characters, but the history of the people were real, and the history of the place is real. And I think Pearl Cleage did an absolute beautiful job of writing it.
Yes, she did.
Yes, she did. And I think the actors did a great job at it.
Not to bring it to a downer, you know, very few people talk about spousal abuse. You know, very few people talk about domestic violence in the Black community. And that was also one of Pearl Cleage's reasons for writing this play. You know, she said in another article that, you know, 5 people die every so often from people, every so many minutes, from people who say that they love them. And it was really important for her to kind of speak to this issue of domestic violence, specifically in our community, because it's not something that we've talked about. In my research, I found out that it wasn't until 1920 that it was illegal to beat a wife. So think about that now, until 1920. It didn't become an actual criminal offense until the 1970s. And then finally, really, with the second wave feminist movement, I was like, what? Okay. And then it didn't become, and when I say a criminal offense, you could get 6 months in jail. Okay, but after 1994, and then it was passed in 96 with you know, the Abuse Against Women Act. Now it's it's a felony, and they've defined so many different ways of spousal abuse, from not just yelling to hitting, and or sometimes, you know, just you know, quieting an individual. And so that's really important to me in this piece, is that it speaks to that issue in our community, because we need to talk about it so much. October is Domestic Violence Month. I just throw that out there as an abuse survivor, so there you go. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
The way you directed that scene, which was so painful to watch, but the slow motion with the thunder and lightning made it all the more powerful. So I just wanted to thank you for that.
Thank you. And all of my plays is always a slow motion scene.
Oh, yeah?
I can tell you that.
She does like that.
I like that. I look at things from a cinematic point of view sometimes when I direct, and that's why sometimes if you notice there was some cinematic point of views in the play. That's just part of my directorial. I think certain moments in the play has to be slowed down for the audience to really get it, and that was the moment that it had to be slowed down. Also, I wanted the actors to be safe, because, you know, something like that, if you're doing it really fast, it can accidentally hit that person. So I wanted particularly Billy, who played Minnie, to be safe while that that scene was going on. But I do it all the time.
Yes, yes,
That's
she
my
does.
style of
She likes to slow it down so that you concentrate. But we know in real life, you know, if you're living through those kinds of moments, it does feel as if the world has stopped.
Yeah.
And so she captured it perfectly. And with the lightning and the thunder, oh my God, yes,
It was powerful.
yes.
Thank you.
We done? Anything else? I think we might be done here.
Well, thank you all
Wow.
for staying.
This was a
Um,
great.
You know, we are going to continue these post-show conversations as we look towards next season. But the other quick plug I wanted to make is we are currently close to maxing out our enrollment for the launch of the pilot of our Quintessence Theater Camp this summer. So if you know of any young children who are interested in being a part of learning about what Quintessence is about, please go to our website and look for that. Otherwise,
Sorry.
We're sorry.
No.
We're having girl talk. We're sorry.
otherwise, let's thank our guests and the cast of Flyin.